You know how sometimes people will do a message or preach a message or say something and they're totally off the mark? I have a story about a pastor who did that. I have many stories about pastors who did that, but I'm only going to focus on one. I was in a church. Years ago, I was trying to get in with a youth group, which I never really got. I got one youth group the last few years. The last 2 years I was in high school, and none of us liked each other at all. It was now we'd go to battle for each other now because we kind of suffered in the pit with each other, but that's another story. This church was a Baptist church, and it was in Wadsworth, Ohio. Guest speaker comes up to speak, and of course I was of the age that the teens sat in with the service and didn't have their own youth group time. That time had not yet come in the world where the teens were given their own service, and on Sunday night or something we just sat in with the normal service, and we had to suffer through it. Same service I was in there, they told us we were not allowed to go to the bathroom. Like, we weren't allowed to go to the bathroom. But that's later on in the story. This guest speaker preached an entire sermon about John Bon Jovi's song for his band Bon Jovi, It's My Life. Against that song, It's My Life. And he talked about it. He took a few lyrics. He took it a few lyrics by a few lyrics, the entire song, and preached how evil it was. I say that to say some people really miss the mark. Like, if you want to get to people at their level, this was not a church full of youth people. This was a church full of a few youth and their grandparents. Most people, from what I remember, were leaving the group going, we need to tell our grandkids about this Bon Jovi guy. And I'm thinking to myself, your parents know about Bon Jovi. Their parents know about Bon Jovi and how clean he is. They don't need to hear it from you. They can make their own decisions on their children's lives. They don't need you to interrupt them. But he made Bon Jovi sound so evil and so sadistic that people left there with an ugly taste in their mouth. I say that to simply say some people really miss the mark. So before you go in front of people, be prayed up. Before you go in front of people, or even on the internet, and preach a message against something, really know what you're talking about. Really know the people you're preaching against, background. Really know what you're saying, because the internet's forever, and your words could bite you in the butt one day. Now, this was way before the internet became the internet and services were televised and everything. But I remember it to this day. There's few sermons from my childhood I remember. That's one of them. because it was so off the point that the entire youth that I stopped going, the entire youth left there livid because yet another adult who didn't know us and didn't know the group and didn't know anything about them were telling us what to do, where to go, what to do, who to do it with, and where to be. And that's the last thing we need when that's the last thing that's the last thing teenagers need when they get it from their teachers, their principals, the students around them, and their parents. So this is getting a little long, and I'm going to cut off here in a minute. But you need to know what you're doing before you preach against something. A little bit of freedom is okay. Let people grow up and discover things for themselves to a certain extent. If you only live a life in church, then your kids are never going to be able to get a point to share the gospel in their youth. And if they can't do it at the most vulnerable time in their life, when they're in their youth, they cannot do it as adults. Well, it's harder to do it as adults because life is out there lifing, adults are out there adulting, and we don't have time to share the gospel with every single person we meet when we're not in special groups and forced to talk to people all day. Especially when you have a job to do and you have things to do and you have a life to lead. And you suddenly have to make time for the Bible. Give the youth the freedom they need to share the gospel when they can. And don't raise them in a judgmental atmosphere so they're not judgmental adults. Have a nice day. And think about what I said. And as always, Jesus loves you. Be blessed.